Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata, greatest living draftsman, and I've got a new course out, Design Fundamentals. It's meant to help you understand design on a comprehensive and principled level and show you how to run projects that build skills and contribute to a portfolio. Maybe you want to be a concept artist, an illustrator, a fine artist, or just the most badass hobbyist on your block. Whatever you want to do with art, if you ever want to do anything vaguely original, you need to understand design. You need a process and a mental framework for getting to something new rather than just copying what you've seen before or photos of stuff that already exists. If you do want to improve at design, that process, that mental framework, it does exist. It's based on the principles of design, and I've spent the past year, wait, is it more than a year? Oh my God, this took forever. I've spent the past whatever putting this course together, full of my insights into the elements of art and the principles of design. Across 10 assignments in this course, you will be concepting your own imagined video game. You'll come up with the overall idea, you'll pick a theme, you'll write a treatment, and you'll design assets that give you a chance to practice all these new concepts. And at the end, all of these individual assignments come together into a cohesive final image. When I designed this syllabus, I wanted to make the course I wish I had taken back in my first year of school, and I did. If I was asked to teach Design 1 at Art Center today, I would just play these videos as my lectures, and this is the same cohesive, practical, fun assignment I would make the students do all semester. Also, just like a college course, everyone gets my feedback on all 10 assignments. In the exclusive course community, you can post your work to get feedback from me and your peers, and there's even a video workroom that's always open so you can hang out together while you work. So if you're interested, go to zapatacourses.com/designfundamentals and check it out. And I will see you on the other side of the mystical gateway of design.
Come in. Oh,
Hello, Joseph, is it?
hi, Dr. Zapata. Yes, Joe. How are you?
I'm well. What seems to be the problem, Joe?
Well, I'm having difficulty drawing from imagination.
Oh, Joseph, just so you know, that's totally normal. Why don't you tell me a little more about your problem? Is it that you can only draw from imagination if you're completely alone?
Doc, I can't ever draw from imagination.
What about if you're completely relaxed?
When I'm totally relaxed, I can't imagine a thing.
I see. Joseph, it's important to know that even with severe cases like this, there's always hope. I can prescribe an experimental therapy called Form from Imagination.
Form from imagination?
It's early days, but clinical trials are extremely promising. Why don't you try this for 6 months and then check back in with me?
Okay, I'll do whatever it takes. Did you just draw this?
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. Hey, Doc, do you ever have trouble drawing from imagination?
Oh no.
You wouldn't. I mean, you drew this.
That's right.
Wow.
Form from Imagination is an experimental therapy and is not yet approved for use by the FDA. Do not use Form from Imagination if you are already taking any prescriptions for drawing from reference, working side size, or tracing photos you didn't even take. Stop taking Form from Imagination if you experience any of these side effects: loss of interest in your personal projects, megalomaniacal self-confidence, hallucinations, unless they're the kind you're hoping for, drawing better than Steven Zapata, or feelings that purchasing the course was enough and you don't really need to do the exercises. Call your doctor if you have stiff gestures, flat forms, or boring ideas to address a possible life-threatening condition. Full sketchbooks have been reported with form from imagination and medicines like it. Other risks include long-term art careers, too many clients, and being worth more than you're charging for. Call your doctor today and ask about form from imagination. What's good? What's good, sweet humans? Hello, hello. Ooh, I'm unmuted, right? Yes, I am. Hello to Safi1R Kyokusei, Fripsites, Kessa, Renyi Ru, Jesus the Comeback, Necropath, Engine Can Ure, Colin Gallagher 1648, Lokman, Renyi Ru, Cody Paints, Lockman, Baron Sepni, and Meemorp. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Yesterday was Thanksgiving. A lot of other people are on holiday today because it's the day after Thanksgiving in the United States. But of course, we are the artists, truly God's lowest creatures. And so we get no days off. Here we are, drawing away once again. Hope everybody had a good holiday. Do we have patrons to honor? We do not. There are no patrons to honor since the last stream, which was just 2 days ago. The patrons will go honorless. Hello, Assassin. Hello, Android Theory. Hello, Fire Art. Fire Art says, woo, what a lucky coincidence. I just wanted to put on an older stream to draw to, but there's one on now. That's right. I'm always right on time, baby. Right on time, baby. Is my volume good? Yeah, I look fine. Kessa says, hi, I haven't seen any artist lawsuit updates this year. Do we have some news? Music lawsuits are going quickly, but this one, most important one, is silent. It's very complicated. First off, there's several lawsuits that overlap with the image generators, and they have had various volleys back and forth, but I would describe most of the volleying back and forth in those lawsuits is technical things. Some wins and some things I would think are losses. By technical things, I mean it's things like determining how big the class that is affected by a class action is, certain plaintiffs and certain defendants either getting added to the case or dismissed from the case, things like that. As far as like definitive rulings about what's okay and what isn't okay with AI, none of them, as far as I know, are really there yet. They're really just like getting into discovery now. You know, so it's going to be a bit. How loud do I want my musica for me? I hope the music is just in the background. Let me know if it's too overpowering. Just a little bit of background. What am I going to draw today? I've got a bunch of things I could do, will do, want to do. I'm going to start off here with some sketches of a friend's Elden Ring characters that I want to do. Oops, forgot I'm in Leonardo. These I'm gonna start digital. Well, I'm gonna do these digital, but after I get these done, might switch to the old sketchbook. You can just barely see it off to the left here. I just have Pure Ref open with some screenshots. I'm gonna make this bigger. And then I'll pull my screen. Where is the edge of my canvas? There it is. Chat screen is tilted? What does that mean? Chat screen is tilted. Doesn't look like it to me. How could it be tilted? Did I rotate it and I can't tell? No, it looks perfectly horizontal and vertical. I'm lost. Zedek says, hey Beaver, I'm Beaver, now I'm Beaver. How's the baby? Baby's great. Serious question this time. I'm in art and design school starting my second and last year pretty soon. I love studying on my own, but I have a bitch of a time with the school's way and socializing in general. Did you experience this? I have to admit, I did not. I like socializing. It's not like I'm an extrovert or something, but once I'm in a social situation, I'm happy to be there. I'm one of those people who's like, I will rarely initiate a social situation, but once I'm in it, I'm having a good time. I'm sure you all know the type. Many of you are probably that type. And I was always kind of good at school. I actually had the opposite problem. I was like, too good at school. I was very willing to sacrifice, well, this is being bad at school another way. I was very willing to sacrifice my mental and bodily health for school. And I actually had to go through the opposite situation that a lot of people do, at least a lot of artists do, where they need to like buckle down and take it more serious. I had to like have someone help me let it go and be more willing to do less and get worse grades and things like that. It was actually someone who worked for the school. It was like someone who's like, he was an instructor at the school, but he also had this position where he would help people sort of walk back from the ledge when they had gone too far. As to what I think you should do about having trouble with the socializing and stuff like that, I mean, what really can I say other than, you know, it's one of the most important parts of being in school, so don't waste it. For a lot of people, the socializing that you will do at art and design school, especially like you said, if you're not a naturally social person, that will be, I'm not kidding, the career make or break. I'm 100% serious. Because due to your natural temperament, you will likely never do it on your own again. The networking, that is to say the friendships and the social circle that you will make in your time at school, for a lot of people, it's like every job you will get for the rest of your life is from that. If you're in school for 2 years, it's from those 2 years. And if you, not to scare you or anything, but it's like, if you turn your back on it you don't network, you don't make friends, you don't create that social circle, you will close the door to the possibilities of that being what your career is based on, which is definitely the lowest hanging fruit for most people. And you will have to focus on sort of breaking in as an unknown, which is very, very difficult, very difficult. You know, art careers are, for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part, they're contact work. You know, you get jobs because someone knows you, they trust you. Their boss says, shit, we need more people. And then your friend goes, I think I know somebody. And that's what it is over and over and over again. Renri Rue says, I really like your style. How can you go from a messy sketch and build up shadows and colors? A lot of that comes down to your individual workflow. You got to test a lot of things. It's like you can take something, you can take, especially digital, not traditional. Traditional, if you get too messy, there are gates depending on certain materials, right? Like if you're painting in oil and you put down too much thick paint right at the beginning, you're kind of locked, right? Like there's just physics to it. There's only so much work you can do into thick paint. Digital, there is no surface. It's totally abstract. So any arbitrarily messy, you can technically finish it, bring it to a super tight polish. The problem is, of course, that at a certain point, you're going to spend more of your process cleaning random artifacts than you than actually doing productive work. So at a certain point, it could get so messy. It's like, damn, I should have just started over. You know, I should have just started over. But there's nothing keeping you from just taking a really chaotic sketch to a glistening finish. It's totally possible. Am I just a super nerd, or is that the dragon helm from that one Fire Knight before Mesmer? I think it is. The winged serpent helm, yeah. Alexander says, always a pleasure to catch you live. Happy to have you. Burhan says, I made most of my friends by attending to activities I don't like doing. It's important, you know, I mean, if you're naturally a little, it's okay to be antisocial. The problem is, of course, being misanthropic, not antisocial. There's nothing wrong with being antisocial. It's just a different temperament. You know, you need to be on your own to recharge. And those of us born with that, it's just a curse we have to live with. But if that's you, then, you know, most social activities, you're just not going to want to do them. But if you're taking your art career seriously, taking the social stuff seriously is part of it. I hate to tell you. Some people deceive themselves into thinking that art is like the perfect antisocial job, and it's like, maybe once, but not anymore. It's the perfect antisocial hobby. It is not the perfect antisocial job. You got to be pretty attentive to the social aspects. What is misanthropic? That's not just being antisocial, that's you dislike people. That's different. I think the things get, I think that people mix them up, and it's actually important to know which you actually are, you know? I think, if you're, so antisocial is just, it's the social aspect, right? It doesn't mean you don't like people, right? Lots of people are introverts and love people and cherish them and really want the best for people. They just hate a fucking party. They don't want to be at a party. A misanthrope is different. Misanthropy is having ill will towards people and towards humanity in general. You know, maybe you think people are generally bad, inclined to hurt each other, things like that. That is different. It's a viewpoint. You know, it's a viewpoint, and I think that if your feelings of antisociality, like not all antisocials are misanthropes, but all misanthropes will be antisocial unless they're also sociopaths, in which case, even though they hate people, they'll spend time with them to manipulate them. But if you're truly a misanthrope, probably art is not for you. I don't think art is a good fit for a misanthrope, because then certainly for the job stuff, it'll be very difficult for you to do the social stuff, which will limit you in getting any kind of career going. But then also being misanthropic, you won't want to connect with people, and it's like that's a big part of art, you know, wanting to communicate things to people and make emotions arise in them. So I forgot to put chapstick on before the stream. My lips are very chapped. How is this thing held? Quite a complex mechanism on the repeating crossbow. Kessa says, well, what would be a good job for a misanthropic someone? I don't know, being a pessimist philosopher, something like that. Maybe lighthouse operator. Maybe being one of a crew of 3 on a transatlantic freighter. Deep sea welder? I don't know. Just anything that keeps you as far away from people as possible. For your sake and theirs. The Tonga Mandapium says, I always share your art as inspiration and benchmark to my other artist friends. They always drop their jaws when they see your stuff. That's very cool to hear. Very cool to hear. Thanks for doing that. Glad if I can add any inspiration to the world. I probably shouldn't sketch a complex background like that, because it'd probably have to be a specific place from Elden Ring, right? And that would be... I think that's outside of the scope of what I could do here. It'd take forever to, you know, nail Stormveil or something like that. Leela says, how does one build up a social network for an art job without having gone to art school? That's hard. That's the classic challenge. Go to cons, meet people at parties. You got to be willing to like stick your neck out a bit and get to know people and be the first to make the social move and all that. It's very difficult. definitely difficult. Good afternoon, Boxer Wing. Is that your character for Elden Ring? No, this is a friend's. My Elden Ring character, I haven't played in a long time, so if I'm not mistaken, my character is rocking the what is it, the Lionel armor, the heaviest armor, the big fat armor, the Lionel the Lionel armor and the giant lion head. So he's like as big and dumb looking as could be. Nick Askew says, who were your heroes in the beginning of your art journey? It was a bunch of concept artists. They were really the thing that got me most fired up for like being an artist in my life as a living. I was inspired by the old masters. I was inspired by the old masters when I was pretty young, but that was more just like raw inspiration. It didn't inspire me to like, oh, I'll make art my living. It's like you feel very abstract from the old masters. And probably as a kid, the thing that inspired me to like want to make art and like just got me excited was like video games and stuff like that, the art for video games. But you know, when you're a kid, you don't it doesn't even occur to you like, let's find out who made this. You just love the art and you copy it in your sketchbook and stuff like that, and your brain doesn't go to that next level. But yeah, for nameable people, it would have been, yeah, concept artists that were working at the time. So it was people like a lot of the film concept artists were an early inspiration. So like Ryan Church, Dylan Cole, Sid Mead, Nick Pugh, Scott Robertson, a bunch of those folk, like Ian McCaig and stuff like that for the Star Wars prequels, Doug Chiang. Those were early inspirations to be like, oh shit, you could do this for a living. I'm gonna try to do that. After them, as I went a little deeper down the rabbit hole, and probably the people that probably the people who I wound up like learning more from directly, it's like the conceptart.org people. Everybody was inspired by them, but like Justin Coral Kaufman, Marco Djurdjevic, Wes Burt, Marco and Wes especially. You know, I'd always been drawing in pencil, and before I saw them, I didn't think pencil really had a place in the concept art world. You know, if you look at like Ryan Church's work and all that, it's all digitally painted. When I saw Marco and Wes and saw that they were like drawing, that freaked me the fuck out. That was a big push. I didn't put this bag in any of the sketches. Elden Ring characters are so detail heavy. Really begs the question, is there a good way to shorthand them? And where can you take some artistic license? I'd like to put like some fraying and battle damage on all the cloaks and stuff like that, for example. Nick Askew says, bro, my family started tweaking because you said the F word. Family's very sensitive, are they? I always tell people on here, this is, just because I'm drawing stuff does not mean this is a kid-friendly stream. I say that all the time. Do not watch me with your kids around. Like, just because I'm drawing doesn't mean... I say a lot of fucked up stuff on here. Yeah. It's not a family show, folks. This ain't Bob Ross you're looking at. The kids will also learn how to curse. At least they'll learn how to curse with style. I'm gonna do a reverse of the first one. Put Milady in the near hand and the crossbow in the far hand. Sarah Stan Oeska says, hi, Stephen. What tips would you suggest for someone looking to get faster and more confident at the decision-making part of design? Sharpen your opinions. That's what it's all about. Your opinions on each of the elements of art and each of the principles of design. As you sharpen your opinion, your depth of thinking about them, you'll make your decisions quicker. And if you want more info on that, check out my design course, Design Fundamentals, which goes in depth on all of the elements and all of the principles, and is now on sale for Black Friday. Thank you so much, everybody. Links in the description. That is genuinely what makes you a better, faster designer. People want the answer to that to sound like a quick tip or something, but it's like... But it's not a quick thing. It's a very big ask. But it is actually pretty direct. I mean, all of design is captured by the elements and the principles. If you know them well, you'll have a conceptual model for interrogating yourself about what you want from a design and what it'll take for a design to be successful. And it's obviously hugely helpful, and most people don't have anything like that, so... Fire Art says, Steven, do you have tips on where to find good reference pictures for costumes or historical clothing or even armor? Pinterest and Google Images are mainly AI slop nowadays. Books are still the best. Fuck, I'm out of coffee. Books are still the best. It's like order one DK, like Amma Through the Ages. One book like that will do you more good than 1,000 Google searches. Even if not the images in the book, like it'll just increase your Google foo exponentially because you'll learn a bunch of words that you can use to do more specific Google searches. Milady is held in a particular way in front of the character when they do the stance, right? Let me look for that. It's like if you just keep Googling on Pinterest and Google like armor, plate armor, cool plate armor, it's like you're going to get the same things over and over again. If you know some of the words instead, you know, pauldrons, epaulettes, greaves, rondelles, gorget, cuirass. It's like if you know those more specific words, you're going to get much better searches. Milady is held out to the side when in the stance. That is not going to work for that composition. You can now filter Pinterest to remove the AI results. Yeah, but I'm sure that that's I'm going to assume that that's just the self-reported AI results. There's no way Pinterest is running a hive back of house to identify AI generations. And obviously the people who are posting AI, if they're getting filtered out, they're going to see their views and revenue and bookmarks from Pinterest searches go down. So they're obviously just going to right away stop self-reporting their posts as AI. I don't know. I don't see filter buttons like that being a reliable solution. Johnny Pearson gives $5. Thank you so much, Johnny Pearson. I appreciate it. It will get turned into pure, uncut, smuggled Colombian coffee. Coffee for my son. Scalding hot, right in his bottle. Unlocking the full potential of his Colombian genetics. Unlocking the power of the sacred ZNA. Johnny says, hey, Steven, do you ever find and lose a creative spark, or have you worked past needing to feel inspired to make something cool? Well, certainly on a job, I don't need to be inspired to make something cool. I did that for years. So there I've completely, that's out, you know. If money's on the line, if the thing's got to get done. I've just done that for so many thousands of hours that, I don't know, I don't even register. I don't even seek it anymore. Like, I don't, my mind doesn't ping on a job looking for inspiration or energy or motivation, and just sit down and get to work. And I don't feel the need to feel excited or inspired for the entire process. You know, it's nice if it comes, but I can certainly just go through to the end, you know. For my own stuff, I could also do that as well, but it really does beg the question, why? You know, why not? For my own stuff, it's like, why not do it while I feel inspired and joyful and things like that? And I don't know, if my life comes to need different things, I'll be able to change it. But where I've been over the past several years, it's like, I'm perfectly fine just like following the juice, following the gusto, you know, for my personal stuff. I don't feel the need to force anything. Now, that's not going to be appropriate for everybody where they are in their lives, but for me, it's been all right. I always, whenever people talk about like, oh God, I'm on a job and I feel so bored with it and I can't bring myself to like it, my advice has always been like, my advice on here is always like, finish whatever job you're on. Like, just eat shit and finish it. Do whatever it takes. You took someone's money, or you are taking someone's money. It's like, you got to get it done. And then afterwards, ask yourselves more meta questions. Like, how did I get here? Why am I here? Do I want to keep doing this kind of thing? What kind of job? Should I keep taking these kinds of jobs? Is there other jobs that I should be looking for taking? Because for real, in art, you've really got to entertain that you might be better off. You really need to take seriously the possibility that you might be better off working at a coffee shop than taking certain kinds of art jobs. I think a lot of artists just, they hate doing everything else so much that they're just like, I would rather do a shitty art job than any other job. But you do that for a few years and you really run the risk of damaging the practice. You know, just coming to feel miserable in your creativity because you're constantly forcing it. It's like, you, in the long run, you really might have been better off working at that coffee shop and making the, you know, 6 hours a week you get to make art more exuberant. Let's cowboy shot it. Maybe that perspective doesn't make so much sense, but it certainly explains the weapon better than the side view, right? Is there a natural place to cut it off? Yeah, I hate that comp. It's a shit comp. It's got to get way too tall for Milady. It's a cool pose, but it's got to get way too tall for Milady to fit in there. And then the crossbow's long, and you just get this huge void here. I think this one, the pose is a little less exciting, but it feels like it makes more sense. Feels like it makes more sense compositionally. You got to crop out more of Milady, but Milady's a pretty, I mean, that's not a big deal. Milady's kind of a continuous toothpick all the way out to its extents. I do like the action pose. I like the action pose, but for what it is, I almost feel like doing the almost like graphic card with the little frame feels better for the presentation of a beloved character. Wouldn't feel right to frame an action pose, would it? Let's see. Not the worst, but kind of odd. Kind of odd. All right. Let me go use the restroom. I'll be right back. And then we'll see what we do. Maybe we pull these into Photoshop and do a little more on them. Ednex says, Steven, I was wondering something. I see lots of artists that make and sell fan art related to lots of art IPs. Are there usually any legal risks in that? Of course. There's just like a gentleman's agreement between artists and IP holders that, the fan art is basically seen as promotion, and beyond promotion, it like keeps their IP front of mind and as like part of the cultural landscape and things like that. And so IP holders tend not to fuck with them. But rest assured, it's like people selling fan art at like artist alleys at Comic-Con and stuff like that, which is a lot of artist alley. All of that stuff could technically get taken down. Like for really big companies, like, so the average person, if you draw a character, if you sketch a character, your character design is not really copyrighted, not technically. There's actually a pretty high bar for copyrighting a character in US copyright law, at least. You have to show that the character has been codified and consistent across several expressions. So there, a Marvel or something really has an edge. Iron Man is a copyrighted character, because they've made clear when it's Iron Man and when it isn't and what Iron Man looks like. And if you're making money off of your drawings of Iron Man that you're selling, like technically it's Marvel's right to exploit their copyright for such reasons. So yeah, it's all illegal, technically. It's all technically illegal. That is not to say, so some people would go in and say it's then theft or something like that, right? And I don't think it is, because again, I think that there is a real you scratch my back, I scratch yours aspect to the gentleman's agreement, right? Like, it's not real. I don't think it's theft, because it does still benefit the IP holder, right? It does still make Iron Man, like I said, keeps them in the culture, keeps the discussion going, keeps regenerating the excitement for this character over and over again. In niches and in quadrants and in spaces where maybe, the IP holder is not able to do so at the moment, Oh God, my cursor in Leonardo is always so small that I can't freaking find it. Okay. Everyday stream now? No, 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 no. Just streaming when I can. And I got the sale going on. Black Friday sale. Gotta promote. Gotta promote the Black Friday sale. Keep looking into my empty coffee mug and just wishing there was coffee in there. It ain't right. Let me get my references back. I don't want to get too tight over this, right? A25 says, do you have any advice for big, overwhelming projects like comics? There's so many skills to learn and so much research to do, which I enjoy, but I feel like I never have enough time. Like I never have enough to make what I want. I mean, it's not that it isn't overwhelming. I mean, any big project is going to be hard to do, but you know, you got to do it. You have to ask yourself, who am I exactly? What kind of artist am I? What person am I? Am I someone who plans comics, or am I someone who makes comics? Because in the extremes, if you're a planner, that is a different job than being the person who makes comics, right? And you need to really reckon with maybe you're doing the wrong job, you know? It's like, okay, let me threaten you. How can I threaten you? If you keep not making the comic, you maybe should quit and become a project manager. You should work for like DC or Dark Horse or Marvel and become a project manager and never draw anything ever, and just be one of the people who helps an artist who is the kind of person to make things get it done, and send them emails with deadlines and be the intermediary and get their files off to the publisher. Maybe that's your job, right? Maybe you're an editor, right? Editors help artists with a lot of research and helping them collect things and focus their vision, but they don't make the drawings, right? If you're gonna keep proving to yourself day after day, day after day, day after day, that you're not the kind of person to sit and make the fucking thing, there's plenty of jobs where you don't make the thing and you help the people who are makers make the thing. And if that makes you angry, if that makes sweat run down your back when you hear that, you really should take seriously being the kind of person who's going to make the stuff. You know, ask yourself, am I a person who plans eternally? What's my track record? What does it look like I do? If you remove my dreams, my ambitions, all the stuff that's hiding in my head, if you look at what I do by volume, am I a maker or a talker and a planner and a helper? World needs them too. The makers need a lot of help. Oltean Tudor says, thanks for presenting Leonardo. After your first video, I've got it, and boy, oh boy, the joy of using it is incredible. Yeah, Leonardo is great. It is favorite sketching tool for sure. A25 says, I never actually thought of it from that angle. Like, I never even considered planning jobs as a possibility. Yep. I'm surprised how often I wind up having a conversation like the one that we just had. But like in workshops in the past, for example, I have told artists based on our conversations, I don't think you should be drawing. Like I have very long conversations about their life and their goals and what they actually care about in art. And if it becomes clear to me, and it has in the past, and I will tell them straight up, and I have, that like I think that you would be happier hiring artists than you would making art, like being the person who draws. Like, you're clearly more focused on the final product, and there's no reason for you to go through the lifelong turmoil of trying to learn how to draw beautifully when you don't actually care about that in the abstract. Like, I know who I am. I care about that in the abstract. You know, I don't need big projects to keep me satisfied with drawing. I can just enjoy drawing probably forever, just abstractly. right? Now, that raises a lot of different considerations, right? Because it's hard to build a career off of that or anything like that. But putting those concerns to the side, if that's not you, drawing is a very hard thing to undertake to a high level when you just consider it a means to an end, you know? So yeah, I've had people in workshops before, I've had that conversation with them, and they're like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? This is a drawing workshop. I mean, should I quit? And I'm like, no, just stop drawing and write for the rest of the workshop and things like that. Did you finish the Venom piece? No, I did not. I might work on it on this stream. But I was looking at it earlier, and you know, that was a workflow test. And when I was looking at it, I was like, I think I get it. Like, I think I know where the workflow goes. I know what is good about that workflow. I know what is not working about that workflow. But that's not the only workflow I need to test. I have others in mind. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll work on it more on this stream. Or maybe I'll just go to testing the next one that I had in mind. I have another test that I wanted to do where the pencil drawing, and maybe I would even use that same pencil drawing of Venom that I used for that workflow test. There's another method I wanted to test where the pencil drawing remains directly in the quote-unquote final piece. Because in that last one that we did, it's not in it. We use it to get the lighting, and then we trace it with some thin lines, but then we leave it behind. The actual pixels of the photo of the pencil drawing are not in there. And I have an idea for an alternate where they are in there. Autumn Rose says an hour late again. Yeah, you're freaking late. What were you doing? I don't understand what you were doing that was more important than my art stream. Do you take this seriously at all? I mean, I'm trying to be cool, but I'm getting a little pissed off over here. What about your current workflow? Are you looking to fix / improve? It's not something that I need to fix per se. I'm thinking of opening up some commission slots. I don't know when. Maybe next year or something like that. And I just want to have an idea of like a base approach that I currently feel comfortable with for doing the commissions at the, how to put it, at the speed and like level of finish that I'm willing to do for the price point that I'm imagining. So I'm testing that, which will also amount to creating samples of that look for the commission sheet. But it's like I can't really just put up I wouldn't want to put out as samples just past work that I've done, because it's like all done different ways and in different time frames and at different levels of finish and things like that. Nifty Nile says, do you ever get repeat clients, say as in someone who orders a drawing every year? I mean, yeah, I mean, well, most of my work has been like contract work and things like that. So it's like by definition, that's repeat. That's, you know, all right, well, you're going to work with us for a year or whatever. But repeat in terms of like commissions or something like that, I'm interested in opening commissions because I've never done them. I've never taken commissions ever, and I honestly couldn't tell you why I'm suddenly interested in doing it. I've only ever worked for companies. Is your terms of service going to be no anime? Probably not. I mean, I won't even, if I do it, which is highly questionable, if I do it, because you know what's always easier is just drawing whatever you want, drawing whatever you want, whenever you want. But if I do it, I would use a platform like Artistry or something like that, where all the requests just go to a dashboard, and it's like if someone asks for anime, I just won't accept it. I don't necessarily feel the need to put it in my terms. I can just get the joy of hitting reject proposal on every single one that's anime. I don't know, maybe there'll be one every now and then that I'm like, actually, that sounds pretty fun. You know, what if it's like, you know, like, what if Goku with big tita? And maybe some fine Sunday I'll wake up and be like, yeah, what if Goku with big tita? And I'll throw down, you know what I'm saying? You're letting the prompters drive the Ferrari? Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Forget it. I'm not going to do it. Forget everything I said. As always, there is nothing you can do to get me to draw what you want. You guys effectively talked me out of it. Sarah Stanoweska. So I remember you mentioning in one of your previous streams that it's possible you might do a course on environment design in the future. Is that still something you would do? There would need to be a lot of interest. There would need to be a lot of interest. Because it's like I started my career doing environment designs. I basically started my career doing like the hardest thing in drafting. Creative, themed, real world environments that needed to be in perspective and proper scale. And we're not just talking, we're not talking, you know, interiors, exteriors, none of it like loosey-goosey concept art, like, whoa, pretty mountains in the background. If only. That would have been fun. Like, it's the hardest thing to do. It's it's a very tough thing to teach. It's extremely complicated. So I would only make that course. Basically, it's very easy for me to imagine putting in possibly years of effort into making that course and 20 people want it, you know? There'd need to be a lot of interest. It's like, I gotta be honest, it's getting harder and harder to imagine people taking stuff like that seriously. I'm definitely getting the vibe that, like, okay, I'm surprised to find in my lifetime, but I'm like one of the holders of a lost art. Cool, you know? It's getting very, very difficult to imagine, yeah, a considerable number of students taking such a thing seriously. You know, I learned it in the trenches with people who took it very seriously. Jesus Comeback says, how much time did it take you to make your courses, or how much time did it take for one course? They take a long time. I think Form from Imagination took me 6 months, about 6 months of continuous work. Design Fundamentals took probably 2 years on the calendar, but the first year was not continuous work. It was more like ideation and figuring out what I wanted to do and how, a lot of back and forth. And then probably about a year, like just under, probably like, oh, it was probably a full year. It's hard for me to remember, but I think probably Design Fundamentals was like 11 or 10 months of continuous work, like doing it every day. And probably 6 months of, it was like 2 years where it was not the emphasis, but I was working on it regularly, but I didn't do it every day. 11 months where I did it, where I worked on Design Fundamentals every day. And then 6 months, again, like Form for Imagination, it was mostly all I did every day. Every now and then I'd stream. Damn, that's a huge commitment. They're really, you know, they're fucking hard to make, man. Anyone who has Form from Imagination or Design Fundamentals, they, you know, they can see it. You know, they understand because they've seen the videos. They are not easy, you know. There is easy ways to make courses, but that ain't me, you know. If my name's gonna be on it, it's gotta be fucking awesome. You know, I don't like putting bullshit out there. And if you don't, especially if you don't make videos, people don't really know how hard videos can be. You know, when if making videos is a regular part of your life, then, you know, then I'm sure it makes perfect sense, you know, because it's one thing to just say the times, but then if I remind you that, like, you know, 11 months making Design Fundamentals where I was doing it every day, it's like that produced over 50 videos. And anyone who makes videos regularly knows what kind of a lift making 50 plus videos in that time frame actually is, you know. Probably overreacting to the amount of purple hue that I'm detecting in that one screenshot down there. Geez, I feel like you got to get your color where you can on grave, dark fantasy stuff like this. Lovely Rebel says, I remember years ago looking at the environment concept art for the original Final Fantasy VII and being like, wait, that's someone's job? It was someone's job. I'm sure it's changed a lot now, but. Animo Ogtus says, hey, Steven, lobster, sunglasses. Why do chicks want my drawings for free? You think I'm missing out on free handouts on my artwork? Give the ladies your art for free, man. Let's see where this thing goes. Average says, don't they teach in architecture schools? No. No, architecture schools don't teach drawing anymore. You know, in your studio classes, of course, they're happy if you draw. You know, they're all excited to see a sketch, but architecture schools teach like Rhino and AutoCAD and a lot of Adobe Illustrator and things like that. The norm in architecture school now is ideas are presented much more graphically because that leaves more room for interpretation and for theme. They don't, in fact, if you presented like a really precise, beautiful POV sketch, like a perspective drawing, in a lot of cases, you'd probably get shunned for it a little, or your teacher would tell you to step back just because it makes things so specific. And that's not really what they're looking for in architectural design, especially not in the educational academic part. You know, they're much more looking for big ideas. And then when it does come time to get specific, no, they would never have you draw it. They're going to have you do it in Rhino, put it into Revit, things like that. A lot of architectural education now is more about construction management and things like that. Average says, did you study architecture? No, but my wife did. She went to architecture school, and she was doing that during COVID, so I got to piggyback on a lot of the education. I was right next to her during lectures. But I did also study architecture in a different capacity, in a much more entertainment capacity at Art Center, which was one of the few design schools that taught architecture well for entertainment designers. They don't even teach it like that anymore. You couldn't go to Art Center and get that same architectural education, I don't think. Is this for a project, Steven, or personal? I'm just doing a drawing of my friend's Elden Ring character. So, do I feel best about that one? Would I rather do this one? I could always let him pick. This one I just don't think works at all. Let's see what happens if I... Can I save this one? If I cut Milady off a lot. It just feels so awkward to cut off the crossbow because it's such a complex... Like Milady, it feels all right to cut it off because it's so simple. It's like your brain fills in the rest. The crossbow is so complicated and has so many different forms that it feels odd to slice it in the middle. It feels like, to me, it really feels like you need to see the whole thing. Sarah Stanoweska says, I went to architecture school and I only had one drawing course out of 12 per semester and only the first 2 years. Yep. It's just not that important in modern architecture. It just really isn't, you know, that's just not how most things get made, you know. The industry has moved on. You know, it'd be wonderful if you could sketch like Frank Lloyd Wright, but you know, most architects will, you barely get to design anything, you know. That's not most, you know, you kind of have to be in a very creative, very high-end, very rarefied architecture studio to have the kind of freedom in design that would sort of ask for sketching and drawing. You know, it's like any degree of exuberance in a sketch will quickly break the bounds of 99.99999% of architectural tasks, you know? It's like the majority of the decision-making that needs to be made in real architectural work is not appropriate for sketching. It's, again, appropriate for something like Revit, like a construction management application or something like that. Have you ever tried animating before? I've tried it, but it's just not for me. I was just messaging someone about this recently, but like I respect and like animation, you know, but it's just clear to me that it's not what I want to do. I'm a single picture kind of a guy. We've all got to know what kind of art we respect and what kind of art we actually want to do. You know, there is a distinction there. Maybe swap hand poses. Yeah, I tried that in the other. The first one is a reverse. Crossbow on the near hand, Milady on the other side, and I think this one works better. This one I don't think works. I don't like the shape of the negative. I don't like the negative shapes. They bum me out. Average says, what you're saying about freedom in design is why I left architecture and went into concept art. Yeah. It's just a different kind of thing, you know? They're very different. The trade-off in architecture is that you get to make something real, you know? Very like, in a different sense, it's very important work, you know? Lives are at stake. John Vickman says, is there a good way to distinguish what you like versus respect? I honestly feel like I like everything, or at least too many things I feel like to do versus respect. No, there's no like pocket solution for that, but you got to figure it out. Because if you're walking around thinking that everything that excites you in art, you know, an animation, a cool color painting, a great sketch, something formal, something informal, everything that you see that makes you feel good, that you like, that you are excited, if your response to that is, okay, so that needs to be in my art, right? Like I need to be able to do that. That's not true. And it's going to make you unfocused, and it's going to knock you off course for the most part. You need to be able to make the distinction, because you have to remember that, yeah, you're an artist, but you're still just a person, and you are going to be reacting to a lot of art that you see just as a fan, you know? You think it's awesome because they made it awesome, not because you need to do that. And it gets especially troublesome if it's not just that you think you need to make it, but then you start beating up on yourself for not being able to do that, you know? It's like I respect and am inspired and think a lot of animations are very cool, but I never think I'm supposed to be doing that. And so I never beat up on myself, asking myself like, man, why am I not good at animation? It's like, it's just not a question. It's a moot point. It's like, that's not what I do, you know? But there's definitely a lot of artists out there who don't make that distinction, and they are wasting a lot of time beating up on themselves for not being good at something that they don't even want to fucking do, which is, it's so crazy, but it's like, man, leave it to artists. So we're nuts, you know, we're completely nuts. And generally just, you know, in this in this world that we live in now, it's extra easy to fall into that because, you know, for reasons, how to put this? It's like the capitalist system that has invaded art is not asking you to do anything personal or profound or deep, really. It just wants you to engage in the game, to engage in the marketplace. And given how shallow and structureless that is, the natural reaction to that is to just think that the ultimate for yourself is everything, right? Like, the game is maximize your quality and value as an artist in the artist marketplace. And because you're inexperienced and you haven't thought about this much, the natural place for your head to go is just a very muscular maximalist definition of what that would be. You think that means I'm great at color, I'm great at gesture, I'm great at anatomy, I'm great at structure, I'm great at perspective, I'm great at storytelling, I'm great at just everything, when that is actually the easy, dumb answer. And I say it's dumb because if you think of your favorite artists, are your top 5 favorite artists your favorite because they're good at absolutely everything? No. It's because they're great. Like you recognize them for one standout amazing thing, usually. And you are, for some reason, you're okay with that for them. But then when it comes to you, again, you go the maximalist way. And it's just, it is a curse brought about by our benighted culture. And you need to shake it off. You know, you need the real answer for everybody's art is not a vast broadening, but inevitably a narrowing, a getting closer and closer to what's just for you, not what is going to make you fit into this expansive mold that you hope would please everybody when you already know good art doesn't please everybody. Lovely Rubble says you can't be a master of everything. That's right. And a lot of artists would be amazed what happens if they actually live by that. Is this Mega Man music? Yes, it is. I think I would need to tighten some things up on that one. Steven, who is the worst artist? Who's the worst artist? I don't know. I mean, it's like, even if your art is terrible, like any degree of notoriety and like notoriety, any notoriety at all means that you fit somewhere. You connected with some audience or you filled a niche, and that kind of precludes the idea to me that the work is like truly bad, because it's like, in a sense, the worst place to be as an artist and the worst artists are just like the utter uninteresting mediocre middle, you know? Like, people make fun of Thomas Kincaid a lot, right? And he, you know, if you look at like his plein air paintings, he was actually quite a good artist. And if you look at his career outside of the Thomas Kincaid look, he was clearly a good artist. I personally don't like what he did with, you know, the stuff that made him famous, the Thomas Kincaid, you know, warm cottage and in a beautiful meadow kind of painting. But you couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. You know, it's kitschy and commercial, and, you know, we can all taste that it's awful, but, you know, up until the point he just had assistants doing them, it's not like it's easy to do. Like, it's a very heavy lift artistically, and it's a heavy lift business-wise, for sure, you know? It's just being unable to do anything, just being trapped in the mediocre middle where you can't get people to care about your work one way or the other, hate it or love it. That's what sucks, you know? That's the real pain. So you're saying I'm the worst artist? Yeah, kinda. You know, your username is average. That's like the worst place to be in, you know? Like, think about it. I think the like, you know, it's a current example, but like I forget the character's name, the Freerin meme that's going around. Is it Fearin or Freerin? The anime character that the artist tried to draw looking up at this angle. It's like, it was so bad that it was grounds for a huge artistic movement and, you know, a great meme moment, and it's lasted a couple weeks, and you have really, really high-end great artists reacting to it and doing their own art based on it, and it's really wholesome and everybody's happy doing it and all that, and it's because it's that bad. If that artist, I forget the artist's name, had done that sketch and made that post with 15% more of their current drawing ability, nobody would have given a fuck. And it wouldn't have kicked off anything. You know, and it wouldn't have kicked off anything. It's the average, it's the middle that sucks, you know? Space Dev 1. Yes, thank you. That's the artist name. If Space Dev had done that drawing and made that post with 15% more drawing ability, I can almost guarantee you nothing would have happened. Nobody cares, you know? Jorge Ramirez says, Buenas tardes, Steven. I saw a story post where you said one drawing was the best you ever did and that you should have stopped right there. Why did you say that? I mean, I was kidding. That was just a joke. There's a subtle kernel of like, when I look at the Lord of Knives, there's a subtle kernel in there of like, and I really like the Lord of Knives drawing, but it's like, when I look at it, I look at the advancements that I've made and what I can do with pencil, and considering that that was 11 years ago, I know I've improved and I can do much more and many more tricky things with pencil, but I have to admit, personally for me, that that improvement is in a very minimal range. It's like I was already past like the soft cap when I did that drawing 11 years ago, you know? It's like, it's, you know, I'm drawing Elden Ring stuff, so it's like, yeah, you're at 80 strength, you know, and you could go to 100 if you want, and yeah, you will be stronger, but not that much stronger, you know, and you're gonna kind of scoff when I tell you how many runes it's gonna take to go from 80 to 100. It's like, it might be as many runes to go from 80 to 100 as it was to go from 1 to 80, you know? So, I do feel that when I look at something like the Lord of Knives, like I see like there wasn't really that, like I did get better, but it's not on a linear, geometric, or exponential improvement. It's definitely like, it's a slow diminishing returns improvement. I don't regret doing that because pencil is like my spirit animal, but I definitely recognize that. And also, there's another thing. There's another aspect to it, which is there's just a charm in the stuff that I used to do that I never quite got that back. I think it was my dad dying. You know, I used to be a much freer, happier spirit, which is always a benefit to an artist, you know. My dad dying really triggered a change in me. And I actually don't remember right now. It's possible The Lord of Knives was drawn after my father died, but before the darkness had settled on my heart from that death, you know? It's like I look at The Lord of Knives and stuff from that period, and you know, I lost my interest in sort of things that are fun and lighthearted, and certainly things that connect with people and make them smile. I've been on a 10-year journey of much more exploring darkness and making very unrelatable, sort of opaque things, you know. And again, I have no regrets. You know, that's where my life has led me. But those are like the two hidden kernels behind saying, like, I could have stopped at The Lord of Knives and everything would have been fine, you know. I feel that, man. Yeah, some real shit. It's some real shit. I mean, you know, it's taken a long time for me to sort of accept that that's what's going on. But like, you know, my dad took his own life. So once that happens, I mean, pretty quickly it had the effect of, I was like, oh, there's probably something going on in the world other than just entertainment. Really, it's just so funny because, you know, entertainment used to be so important to me, and I sort of had a bottomless well of interest and enjoyment in entertainment, and then, you know, mortality rears its ugly head, and you know, you have a collision with the other side of life. And suddenly I was like, you know what? I don't really, actually being entertained unto the grave is really not so interesting to me, you know? I'm kind of much more interested now in figuring out what the fuck is going on here. You know, I feel it. You know, I feel it. I even feel it with like certain friendships and stuff like that. Like I still have, you know, old friends, you know, we'll talk again and they'll be like, man, have you watched the new Marvel thing? And, you know, I'm just like, no, I haven't watched any of that in like a decade, you know? And they're like, you used to love that stuff. And I was like, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. But life changes you. Okay, I want to paint and poke at things, but I really should not without actually picking which one of these I want to do. I can tell that I'm not going to be able to pick which of these I want to do unless I look at unless I do at least one of the action ones. It's like, I feel like I like this, you know, and it's just a solid, clear way to present a character. But there might be something on one of the more dramatic, you know, walking towards camera looking badass or in an action pose ones. All right, let me try this, and I get the feeling that even if this one, for example, falls apart, I'll feel like I know, like, all right, I'll just do the other one. Thanks for the empathy, people. I appreciate that. And for anyone who has lost anybody else in tragic circumstances, you know, I empathize with you, of course. You know, very few of us will avoid such tragedies in our lives. You know, there will be a lucky few, I suppose, but most of us will have a head-on collision with the pain at some point. The Artist 14 says, my dad took his life too. I understand how impactful it could be to your life. Yeah. I'm right there with you, brother. I am wishing you well. No, I'm not going to trace this. It's just going to get too involved. Keep it sloppy for now, just sketches. Lovely Rebel says, once you're an adult, you get so picky with entertainment. You just don't have the time or emotional budget to engage in lots of stuff anymore. Yeah, I mean, there's the budget thing and the time thing, and also just like, I don't know. I started finding a lot of stuff vapid that I never used to think was vapid, you know? Which, you know, I don't think that's, you know, I don't think of that as a nice thing that happened to me. You know, I think of that experience as, and again, you know, it's not like I think there's some alternative, right? Things had to go the way they were going to go. I'm a determinist, no free will, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, I think of that experience as sort of taking that away from me, you know? I remember it hit me really hard the first time that the first video game job that I got after I got after he passed, and I realized like, oh, I don't care. Like, I still cared about the job, you know. But it didn't matter to me that I was working on a big entertainment property that like I thought was cool anymore. You know, that's not to say I wasn't grateful for the job and I didn't do good work on it. You know, I worked my ass off still and I was very grateful for the job. But, it really hit me hard when I was like, oh shit, now I don't find this satisfying when I used to find stuff like this satisfying, you know? No problem, Jorge. Thanks for asking. Bick says I lost my dad a decade ago to kidney failure. Sorry to hear that. My dad was a decade ago too. 10 years ago this year. Lovely Rebel says, I try to stay informed and engaged with new stuff as best as I can because I never want to not be able to relate to young people, especially when we can have so much in common, but it does get harder. Seems like an uphill battle to me. That does seem uphill. That's hard. Stream keeps me young. You guys always teach me some young people stuff, but even with a great exposure tool like Stream, definitely feeling unk these days. Definitely feeling unk. Skullmeyer says, I think since I've been sober, I spend 20 to 30% a day trying to figure out the homeless situation, societal stuff. If you're saying there that you are currently homeless, I hope that changes for you soon, man. That's tough digs right there. That's Cirx. God, life is hard. Life is hard. Anika, anatta, dukkha, anika. Anatta, dukkha, dukkha. Homeless 6 years ago. Confetti, fireworks, life is great. Homelessness is in the past. Wahoo! I didn't mean to be belittling. I just like the whiplash of that. I like the emotional whiplash of being like, oh man, this poor guy's homeless, and then being like, oh, he's not homeless, that's great. Skibidi Riz. I saw that user. I saw that you said Skibidi Riz. I saw that. And I liked that you thought better of it. You wrote Skibidi Riz, and then you were like, but what if not Skibidi Riz? Message retracted. Message retracted. Tornado onion. Good Vibes says, "You have any favorite artists that you found through card games like Magic: The Gathering?" That I found through Magic: The Gathering. No, not really, because I don't play those games. You know, I have a few artists who I found them because the first thing I happened to bump into of theirs was a Magic card that they posted, but I was always finding it through an art website like ArtStation or CG Hub back in the day. I don't play any trading card games. I don't really have any fun, period. I'll do anything fun. I'm trying to think of someone off the top of my head. I think like the first time I saw Chase Stone's artwork was a Magic card that he posted. I think Chase Stone is really awesome. I think he's sort of like the, you could really tell that, I don't know, I don't play Magic, I'm not in the Magic world, so I don't really know much about what they're trying to do, but the way the art direction has gone for them, you know, looking at it from the outside, it really feels like they're trying to make like a movie, and they're basically using the art as like, it just, they're so focused on like the cinematic language, and everything gets, there's definitely a lot more photo bashy stuff and 3D reference stuff. It's much less illustrative and much more, I don't know, to me I get the vibe that it's like they're trying to make it feel like they have a cinematic universe. Maybe that's because they want to make one, and it's like they consider all of this not just the product but also like pre-production. Or maybe they just like the idea that it feels like the movies already exist, but there are no movies. I don't know. But that's the vibe that I get of their art direction. And to me, Chase Stone is like, he's the epitome. Like, he's doing whatever it takes to get that vibe. You know, amazing blend of 3D elements. He's doing renders. He's using photos. It's clear he's not like a lot of us. He's really, to me, it's clear that Chase doesn't have this thing in his head where he's like, well, I got to paint something and everybody. He's like, no, it's clear he puts the product first. He's trying to nail the picture, and he just does amazing work. What do you do that's not drawing? Cuddle my baby boy. Cuddle my son. I just read. That's really it. Yeah, I don't really have any hobbies outside of art, you know. I don't really feel like I need another one to recharge me from drawing. So I draw until I don't want to do that anymore, and then to recharge from it, I'll draw something a little different. Just draw in a different way. You know, for exercise, I don't like sports or anything like that, so I do the most basic exercises. I run, but I'm not like a big I'm not like a running head, you know. I don't do races or anything like that. If I'm not running, I just do like floor exercises. Little downward dog here and there. mobility stuff. So try to keep my shoulders from breaking in half before I'm 40. And I read. I like reading. And for reading, I like to read, I don't know. I like to think of it as I like to read big ideas. Because I don't really read for relaxation. I read to figure the world out. From a drive to figure the world out. But the way that I experience that, that doesn't then necessitate that I be reading history or something like that. Like I said, I read for big ideas, and as far as I'm concerned, that can happen in history, that can happen in philosophy, that can happen in academia, and it can indeed happen in fiction. So I just read for big ideas. Like right now I'm reading House of Leaves. That's fiction. Big ideas. So many just users now in the chat. Is there any, like, is it a setting on my end? Like, is there a button I'm supposed to click to make people's handles display correctly instead of, just like their technical username? Confuses me. It feels weird saying, hello user, user XI1ET, user TMF488. Just dropping a screenshot of Kaled in here for see what I think about using actual Elden Ring color palettes for a tone. To catch the tone. Just delete the areas of contrast and make it look like anything. Do you have any experience working with artists that have hypo or aphantasia? I think I've taught people in workshops and stuff like that that have said they have aphantasia, but it never became like a big thing. I don't really think it's important. I mean, I can visualize vividly in my head, but I don't do it while I draw. When I draw, I just react to what I'm seeing on the page. Just go line to line, line to line, line to line. I don't sit there and try to visualize something and try to like trace it from my mind, which I don't think would be possible anyway. I don't really know what that would even fucking mean. Momentai says, "Hi, Steven. How do you balance socializing and practicing art? Do you have a video on this?" Oh, that'd be a short video. I mean, get a wife who will make sure that there's social things on your calendar. You know, it's like oh, you spend all day inside and you forget to go outside. Get a dog. The dog will make sure you go out every 3 days. You know, I like a social situation, but yeah, I don't have that personality where I like remember to initiate. You know, thank God I married someone who does, right? So she says, yeah, Saturday we're seeing these people. And I'm like, great. All right, sounds good. See them then. Have you read The Creative Act, Way of Being by Rick Rubin? I listened to it once on an audiobook. If so, I'd love to know your thoughts on it. I'm reading it right now, but I'm honestly finding it very disappointing. I thought it was good. Not to come off too pretentious, but I was like, I felt like I already knew and did all that stuff. So I liked it, but it wasn't like a big life-changing thing. I had actually been writing an ebook for a while before that book came out. And when I heard about the Creative Act and how people were talking about it, and then after I listened to it, the things that I was recommending in that ebook I was writing were similar enough that I just stopped writing it. I said, I'll just tell people to read the Creative Act if that's their particular problem. User is actually my legal name. Nice. Nice. Lady Gaga made a song called Telephone. She did. My telephone, my telephone. When I'm up in the club and I'm sipping that bub and you're not gonna reach my telephone. Well, that's probably stuck in my head now. Skullmeyer says, I see the ring. You have kids? Yeah, I have one kid. very recent. Back in August, my wife and I had our first. Says, I have one on the way. I'm up for the challenge. Congratulations. Good luck and enjoy it. I've found it wonderful. It's been a blast. The Tonga Mondapium says, I don't understand how you can endure the same OST again and again. I find it fascinating. Well, I wouldn't if I wasn't on stream. There's only so many things you can listen to that won't get copyright strict. I'll get sick of this soon, and then I'll only have 3 other things I can... It's like, at least I know these songs, right? Like, you know, sort of neutral lo-fi that you don't know any of the songs, I don't know, wears thin on you after a while. It's like, this is repetitive, but at least I get the little nostalgia hit of, all right, Chill Penguins theme song, you know? But if I wasn't on stream, I mean, I usually don't listen to music while I work. It's nice on stream because it lets people know that stream hasn't paused if they're in another tab, and it also covers a bit of background noise. But yeah, if I wasn't on stream, I wouldn't be listening to music. I usually draw to nothing or an audiobook or a podcast. I much prefer that these days. How's it going out there? How did you meet your wife? Known her forever. We met as kids. Fine Sickle says, do you have any tips on engaging more with one's own imagination? Lately I have been focusing less on the how to draw rather than the what. Yeah, it's usually better to focus on the what. At least I think that should be more the focus for more people. Any tips on getting more ideas on the page? There's so many things. The general advice I give is get weird. Most people don't get weird enough. It's like, don't forget you are an artist. Like, it's our birthright to be strange. So get very weird with your methods to increase your creativity. Some people find a detox from other people's art very useful. You know, uninstall Instagram, unfollow all the artists that you follow. Go a month or two without looking at any artwork, and usually that makes people turn inward because the part of your mind that is still an enjoyer of art gets starved and it doesn't have any other artist to give it what it needs. So then it turns on the part of your brain that is an artist and says, show me something fucking cool because I'm going crazy over here. Syntax Worker says, you and Cynic should compare notes on fatherhood coming up at the same time. We do. We do. We talk about it. Momenti says, I just moved to Ohio for my first 3D full-time job and I have no friends or girlfriend. Just wondering how I should balance it all as a 28-year-old. If you're 28, you have the full-time 3D job. I mean, no one can tell you how to live your life, and I'm just some guy on YouTube, but me, I would say, again, take this with a grain of salt. I don't know your life. I would only do art at your job, you know, your 9-to-5 art job. It's like you did it. That's already hard enough to get. Don't do art outside of it. Do your social life outside of it. Now's the time in your life. Go meet people. Go figure it out. If you want a relationship, start working on finding one. I mean, shit, you know? this art thing, especially if you're doing it for work, it'll eat up your whole life. It's happy. Oh, they're happy to come for everything. For everything. Don't let them. You gotta be a person. Art is a fruit that comes from the tree of your life. Don't get it twisted. The tree must be healthy. And relationships are very, very important. You know, that's like a core need for people. People need like food, shelter, and they need to feel like they are loved. You know, a lot of people will not feel, it's not everybody, but a lot of people will not feel like their life is worth living if they don't feel loved. And you give them all the food, shelter, and water that they could use and make their life easy. Give them a universal basic income. If they don't feel loved, they'll be like, I don't want to be here. So you just, you know, it's all right to work on that. Does anyone use the repeating crossbow? When you fire it, does it make a little... Some of the weapons, they make little, like, spark animations. Does the repeating crossbow do that when it fires? Or does it just shoot a bolt with no effect? Because I don't know why, but I really just want to put a muzzle flash on my crossbow. All right, this one I don't feel like I need. It's all background. I don't want to do a big background for this. So I'm not going to color this one. For me, it's this, or this. Do it. Lots of sparks. All right, I'm going to put a gun-like muzzle flash on, on my crossbow. Don't gotta make no sense. Tonga says normal ammo, no spark. All right, well, at least I know. At least I know where I'm going too far. The Tonga Mandapium says, do you feel like romantic love nowadays has been on a downfall? I feel like people don't come up as authentic as much because of fear. I don't know. I'm not dating. I've never dated in the current ecosystem, so I wouldn't know. From the outside, it feels like definitely. That's my opinion. I think it's definitely the performative nature of social media, like feeling like you're performing for everybody, performing your ego. I think that must make it hard to relate sincerely to others who you're kind of looking at them like they're performing their ego. I don't see how that doesn't make it difficult to just let like romance flow, just like raw affection flow. And I also think those fucking apps, like, it's gotta get in the way of romance to think of yourself as like a listing on Amazon, Like I'm a product and a brand that, you know, I got to spruce up my brand, the way that I answer the questions, the way I look like in my photos, this false simulacrum of myself, so that people will stop in a scroll and say, oh yeah, this is, you know, like you're shopping for a fucking lamp. Like, again, you know, not to go too hard on capitalism again, but it's just like the infinitum ad absurdum capitalistic version of love. Like the apps just turn you into a product in a marketplace again. And as I don't see how that doesn't affect your psychology, affect the psychology of people shopping for you. And I don't see how it doesn't affect the psychology of like how you go into a relationship. And what scares me about stuff like that is that, like all deep cultural systemic things like that, no one's gonna care. Like it will be an unrectifiable inherent aspect of relationships, and like people will just find themselves in relationships that's the substratum, and there is no considering anything else, you know. And I don't know, to me it seems like crazy making. I wouldn't do it. I don't think I would. You know, if I was dating in this market, I don't think I'd be on the apps. It's like, that's not you, dog. And only a fool doesn't know that, you know? I really don't like the frame on the horizontal. I like the frame much better on square or vertical. Oh, hey, Mel. That's funny. I was about to send these to you. I was about to take a minute on stream to send you these sketches and see what resonated with you. But you're here now. Which of these are you vibing with? This is A. This is B. Whoops. And this is C. I did another sketch, but it wasn't for me. You could always see it on the stream. Too much background. It would get too crazy. Too crazy for this context. A, B. A and B are very similar. but the difference in which weapon is being held up really impacts the composition. I just want to get your gut reaction, and then we can have a debate. A, B, C. I'll put them all up on screen. All right, Mel says B feels like FromSoft, C feels like Steven. C is immaculate. C is immaculate and also feels like your playthrough. All right, C it is. I like C too. I thought A was the most straightforward. I thought it presented the character in the most straightforward way. B feels like FromSoft. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I liked B fine. I did think, whoops, I forgot that you can't see everything. I gotta smoosh these more. I forgot that you can't see my whole screen. Oh my God, let me just shrink my feed. That'll honestly be easier. All right, there you can basically see everything. A was the most straightforward for me. B, similar to A, but I don't like that one. I don't like the negative shade. Too much void over on the right and on the left, I feel like. The triangle that it makes isn't as confident. I think it's that vertical from Milady is... I don't know. It's throwing it off. But if C feels like your playthrough, and I'm a sucker for a little bit of action, that'll be the one. C it is. I guess I'd rather it feel like me than From Software. Why not? It's like you've already got the game. You can always take a screenshot of your character in the game. Why wouldn't I make it look like me, I guess? What's the context here? These are MT Arts. These are drawings of MT Arts Elden Ring character. These are some sketches. I wasn't gonna do these in color when I was gonna send them to him to pick, but sitting here on stream vibing, they wound up colored, whatever. All right, let's put all back in tabs. Just fixing my monitor, my feed here. All right, so see it is good progress. And dude, Mel, you came in at, I mean, that's amazing. I was about to send them to you, for real. I'd colored them. I was just gonna put the labels on and I was gonna jump over to Discord and send you JPEGs. I mean, you were immaculately on time. So good progress with this little task. We did the sketches. We got Mel in for the pick and the approval right at the end. And I do think that's a natural place to end it for the day, because it is getting to be 5:30. It's just about dinner time, and I better go check in with my wife and the baby. So I'm going to start signing off. And next time that we're here, we will gussy up Mel's illustration here a little bit. I'm not going to push these, too far. Nothing crazy. But I did want to try this, and I did want to give Mel a little Christmas gift. I think Mel will forgive me if I don't push it to a insane level of polish. So I'll just hang out for a few more minutes and do the classic end of stream rush doodling on something that I'll have to undo later. But if anyone has any last questions, any last comments, let me know. Would I want to work right over these flats? Not really. I put these color flats in so that it'd be easy for Mel to identify his character and like the different parts, even with the very squiggly sketches, even with the very scratchy sketch. I'm not sure I'd want to paint right over that. Usually painting over like flats with very little variety over them, usually that doesn't work out. So maybe it's fine to just say those serve their purpose for the sketch. Let me archive my lines here. That was a good idea. We continue the progress on stream another day. You betcha, baby! Let me get the total character level of effect. Goodbye, Bick Nguyen. Says, I gotta go too. This was nice, y'all. Mel says, dude, it's looking crazy. Glad you like it. Happy holidays. Aisha says, thanks for the sketch along with me session. My pleasure as always. I definitely feel like I could keep going, but it's still the holidays. It's still a Friday night. Steven, have you watched Frankenstein? Yeah, I liked it a lot. I am a big fan of the book. As anyone who has watched the design course will know, I did my sample demos for the design course for the inventory screen assignment. I did those on a imaginary Frankenstein hack and slash. And in my descriptions of that, it definitely reveals that I love the book. But so I have to admit that, like, and I guess it's not a good idea to. Can I talk spoilers for Frankenstein? I mean, it's like one of the oldest classics ever. Is it really not okay to discuss spoilers? I love the movie. Even just on the level of the craft of movie making, I love anything Guillermo del Toro does because of his commitments and his values. It made my wife cry at the end. You know, she doesn't cry at anything anymore. Anymore. She has never been like a cry at movies type. But she got teary-eyed from it. I will say that being a fan of the original, some of the changes, I have thoughts. I have thoughts on the changes. And again, I'm a little worried about maybe people would think discussing the changes Guillermo made would be spoilers, so maybe I won't just wing them out there. But, and I'm not saying that I like don't like the movie because of the changes. I'm just bringing them up, and like I said, like I don't know how I feel about them right now. I have to think about them. It's just interesting because they were clearly so intentional, right? He puts it in with that there's that quote at the beginning of the movie where Victor says, you know, not everything that I'm about to tell you is fact, but everything is true, right? And that's clearly a reference to I took that as like a metaphor to the facts would be everything that stays true to the book, and then the true things are sort of what Guillermo has decided to change or amend and things like that. And so it's clearly very intentional to me, so it really makes me think like, why those changes? Because they're not like, some of them are like plot changes, and that's one thing, but he made changes to like the themes in my interpretation, and that's very interesting to me. I'm like, why did he do that? I want to know, I want to understand the changes he made to the themes, you know? Guillermo definitely changed the themes. Yeah, yeah. Like stuff at the ending and things like that. Those are big changes, big changes. I need to think about them. A reminder, all of my courses, Design Fundamentals, Form for Imagination, all of my courses on Proco, all on sale for Black Friday. Deep savings across the entire market. If you've ever been interested, go check them out. Now would be a great time to pick them up. As we were talking about earlier on stream, Design Fundamentals is like, woo boy. I've never really, that's like the thing I've worked hardest on. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. I think it's great. Please check out Design Fundamentals. Links are in the description. Mel says, I've been processing it the same. Yeah. Nosferatu changed a lot of things aesthetically, but held the same themes. Right, right. Yeah, I'm very interested in the theme changes of Frankenstein. I got to think about it. I've had so little time to sit and think lately, you know? Steven, do you have any large drawings of mine you want to jump to? Yeah. I was working on, the one that comes to mind is one I was working on a few streams ago. Like Ancient Aliens relief art one. I have the sketches here. I always keep the sketch for the thing that I'm like, all right, I got to get back to that. I always keep it right next to my desk on the windowsill to remind me every day. These sketches, if you remember these, whatever the hell these are for, whatever the hell these are trying to get to, these would be the next thing. The next drawing. It's like, I know this is the heart of it. I've just needed to step away to figure out how I actually want to arrange this picture. Because I know I want other stuff around it, but the things that I've tried so far, they're not clicking with me. And this one I want to do big, you know, at least an 18 by 24, but I'd like if I could go bigger. I'd like this to be the first one I've done in a long time that's like over 30 inches or something like that. Yeah, I definitely can't be here trying to match the detail of like a modern video game character. It's like any game engine like this, the characters are going to have more detail than you can reasonably capture in an illustration. I need to be capturing a specific energy instead. I love that you give your subconscious time to gestate like that, Stephen. Yeah, well, with my pencil drawings, there's no good reason to rush them. It's like I really think it's very important to it's like having that part of my practice where I'm committed to like I won't rush it. It's like that lets every other part feel much freer. You know, I'm free. That frees me to explore speed and a little bit of rushing and efficiency in other parts of my practice. But it's like you need that anchor, you know? And it's too, you couldn't possibly rush it. You know, the things that I want from my pencil drawings are like too high-minded, honestly. There's just like, you can't rush having new feelings and thoughts and insights about illusionism and things like that. It's like, it's not going to happen, you know? You can't rush that. Sarah says, I love the alien relief things. Yeah, I love those too. Yeah, can't rush them. I want those to be really cool, but they're subtle things. It's cool seeing how much crazier textures have gotten over time. Yeah, that was a big, this year and last year. Last year it was on my mind, but I didn't really get around to it. I had too much work to do on the design course. This year, finally I got to it. I'd been telling myself like, texture is just something I really want to explore more. Oh yeah, this year is really where it was very pointed, you know, letting myself sink deep into thinking about it and things like that. Steven, do you do any paintings or consider doing paintings in the future? Traditional paintings? I definitely consider it. I don't really do traditional paintings right now, mostly out of space constraints. I used to paint all the time when I had more room back in LA. All right, everybody. I really got to run. As much as I want to keep doing this. It's like, it's about that time. Someone needs my help cooking something. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Mel, I hope you like the sketches. And I will talk to you all very soon. Goodbye to Frank W. Williams, who says, thoughts on screenless drawing tablets versus displays. Been trying to get used to screenless for several years, but can't get into it. Giving display a try soon. I mean, try it. If you can afford it, try it. But for my gut, the advice I always give people is, if you do more painting, stick to a screenless tablet. I think it's more ergonomic in the long run. I think that screen tablets are really best for people who do a lot of tight line work, and that's most of their work. It's like there I can see some benefit, but the ergonomics are bad for most people. You know, you spend a lot of time hunched over those things. It's very tough. Goodbye to John. Goodbye to Jojo. Goodbye to Zurich. Goodbye to Sweet Sweet Mel. Goodbye to Eugene Borkan. Goodbye to I Wear a Void. Goodbye to Jesus the Comeback. Goodbye to Life. Goodbye to User. So many users. Goodbye to Tad. Goodbye to Aisha. Goodbye to Daryl Grant. Goodbye to Nobicus. Colin Gallagher. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. We'll see you all again very soon. And don't forget the Black Friday sale. You get the course. Goodbye, everybody.